So with women living longer, fuller and richer lives into their 50s, 60s and beyond, I thought this was a really important video to put out there, which is we're going to be talking about how the menopause can affect the voice. So it's something that I often get asked about privately because I just don't think that there's that much out there in the public domain. And for that reason, I think it can be a very confusing and anxiety-fueled time for women when there's already all these other changes going on. And then you add to the mix, the voice is changing as well in some cases. And I think particularly if you are a professional voice user, and even more so if you're a singer, then it can feel like you just don't know what's going on with your voice. There's all these changes happening and you don't feel like you can rely on your voice anymore. You don't know what's happening to it. So I want to shed a bit of light today on what's happening and some of the symptoms that you might notice, and then some of the things that you can do to help yourself. So it's fascinating to me that in 400 BC, menopause didn't even exist because the life expectancy of a woman was between 23 and 27. And now 50% of women will reach menopause. Now, the average age of menopause is between 50 and 59, but importantly, perimenopause can start in some women from as young as 40. So that's why for me this is such an important video, because it covers a vast array of women. So much like our menstrual cycle, every woman will experience this differently. And so you may have all the symptoms, or you may have none of the symptoms, or some of the symptoms. And obviously they will vary in their severity as well. But the other thing to mention too is you might not notice them now, but maybe 10 years down the track. So they don't necessarily all show up at the same time. So first of all, the key hormones at play in the female voice are estrogen, progesterone, and androgens, which is testosterone. And these hormones affect more than our reproductive system. And there's actually estrogen receptors in cells all over our body, not just the vocal folds, but also the brain, the immune system, the cardiovascular system, in muscles and in bone. And so as our bodies respond to these hormonal fluctuations and changes, you can see why it could have such a huge impact on our voice as well as the rest of our body. So firstly, what is perimenopause and what is menopause? So perimenopause really means sort of pre-menopause. And it's really when the reproductive system starts to wind down. And this can last anything from 2 to 10 years before the onset of menopause. So I mentioned earlier that for some women, it can start as young as 40. Menopause, on the other hand, is the end of a woman's reproductive years and starts when she's had 12 months without a period. Now, hormonally at this point, there's no progesterone, there's a decrease in estrogen, and there's a relative excess of androgens or testosterone. So firstly, I just want to say more broadly, which I kind of alluded to at the beginning of the video, with women that are really reliant on their voice, one of the key things that you probably will notice, if you notice something at all, is that your voice just feels unpredictable and unreliable and unstable. And from one day to the next, you just don't know what is going to come out, and you don't feel confident with the voice that you have. Whereas once upon a time, you knew if you did that, this sound would come out. And now it's like, I don't know what's going to come out today. And again, this can be more prominent as a singer, but also with speakers as well. And also with perimenopause, because the system is kind of winding down, you may notice that some of these symptoms come and go. So you might have them and then they just completely disappear, and they come back and they disappear. So just to be aware. And the other thing you might notice too is that you don't have them now, and you might notice them maybe in 10 years' time. So just to be aware anyway of these are the types of symptoms that you might notice with these changes in hormone levels. So I'm going to talk about 6 main symptoms that we are aware of that can affect the voice. Number 1 is vocal fold swelling or vocal fold edema. And this can result in a husky kind of raspy voice. Number 2, the voice will be more dehydrated. So you'll feel maybe that your throat is dry. You might be clearing your throat a lot more. And then that leads on to number 3, which is vocal fatigue. And vocal fatigue could also be a result of vocal fold swelling as well. So they kind of all interconnect. Essentially, you might notice that your voice just tires more easily. There's also vocal fold muscle weakness, which can impact the agility in the voice and the power in the voice. So you may find that you struggle with projection more. As a singer, you might notice a reduction in your range, and hitting those high notes becomes harder. But you also might notice you have more low notes, because one of the other things that many women report is their speaking voice lowers, which is to do with that testosterone. So finally, you might notice a colorlessness or a flat sort of timbre in the speaking voice. You just feel like your voice just doesn't sound very interesting. So what can you do if you're noticing you're experiencing some of these symptoms or all of these symptoms, and you are someone that really needs your voice? You know, you are working, you're teaching, you're coaching, you're training, and you want a voice that you can rely on. So I do feel like a broken record every time I say this. But warming up your voice is probably the most important thing you can do, and daily. And I'm talking about everyone here, not just singers, especially singers, but also speakers. Honestly, it will make a vast difference to how your voice feels, how it moves. It's going to make it more agile and more supple. Now, it's not going to do miracles. It's not going to take away the effects of the hormones, but it is going to make your voice just feel that bit easier. And I will put a link at the bottom for some warm-ups you can do. But honestly, if you don't do anything else, that would make a big difference. So the goal really during this sort of unsettled transition in your voice is for the most ease and efficiency in your voice. So that's really what you're trying to aim for. So don't force your voice, don't push your voice. Just try and be kind to yourself, give yourself more breaks, drink more water. I mean, these are all kind of obvious things to say, but I think if you understand why you need to do it, it's easier, I think, to do it, because I think we all know we're meant to drink more water, but most of us don't. So just understand that the voice is just going to be more dehydrated. So drinking more water will help. But another important aspect is keeping your voice moving as well. So we want to be kind and we want to respect our limits with our voice, but we also want to keep it moving, because like any other muscle in the body, when you stop using it, you lose it. So keep moving it. So warming the voice up, and also things like if you aren't a singer and you are just using your voice for speaking, try and vary your pitch, try and intonate more, because a voice that's kind of very monotone isn't really moving that much. And so we want to get as much movement as we can in the voice. And that's really going to help keep it a little bit more agile and more supple. And that's why I say warming up the voice is so important, because that's going to help you in that movement as well. And finally, if you are someone who relies on your voice, it's really important to you for your work, I highly recommend getting some training. And I know this sounds very self-serving, but there's many people out there that can help you with this, not just me. But understanding how to efficiently and effortlessly use your voice is going to really, really help you during this time, because most of us are not taught how to speak with the most resonant voice. And so you are going to then be inadvertently perhaps exacerbating some issues. But really what you want to learn is how to speak using the resonant voice. And that's going to help to conserve some of the kind of energy and effort that otherwise you might feel you have to expend when you speak. So if you'd like to find out more, I'm very happy to talk to you. You can book a free consultation with me. But as I say, there will be other people out there also that can help you with this. But I do really recommend it if you notice that these symptoms are a real problem for you. So I really hope that's helped. And if you have any questions, please feel free to post them below. But if not, I will see you on another video.